The question before us today is simple, but yet very powerful on that. So, are our students truly future ready? To explain this important topic, we are privileged to have some of the finest education leaders from West Bengal and Odisha with us in this evening. Let's begin with this inspiring conversation. Thank you. Well, please welcome Ms. Tania Sen, Principal of Techno India Group Public School, Korea.
Good
Ma'am,
evening,
shall I?
everyone. Yeah,
Very good
good
evening,
evening.
ma'am. Very good evening, ma'am. So, ma'am, AI is transforming every profession, right? So, in your opinion, how schools prepare students for tomorrow's opportunities? Okay, if you could explain or if you could share your insight on that, that will be really helpful to start the session, right?
Sure. Thank you so much. A very good evening again to the organizers, to all my esteemed co-panelists here, and everyone who has joined us. It's a very meaningful discussion we are having. You can already understand that the topic is very contemporary. See, schools have always been considered to be as the smallest, definitely the smallest unit, but very pertinent units of education. And education being the bedrock for any successful society. Now, we used to have a saying that a school is a building with four walls with tomorrow inside. It's a very common adage which we had. But
Mhm.
today, what I think is that no more we can just call them as four walls because the spaces have really changed. Very vibrant spaces. And with yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Why I'm saying yesterday, today, and tomorrow? Because we also have the teachers, the parents, the stakeholders who are perhaps from a different time zone. And when we are looking into our today's learners, they are growing with their own, excitements, the learnings which they're having, the challenges which they're having. And they're looking into a future which they can see in front of them as their seniors are coping up or the higher education institute students are coping. So I have always believed, that schools have been progressive and they're still progressive. So many of the schools have already adopted the changes which are required. If you are talking in terms of embracing the technology part, they've also started doing that. And when we say that it's about examination or something, so the first question arises, if we do not prepare the student for exams today, will they really be future ready? They can't be future ready unless today's exams they're able to handle well. The question now arises, what is examination? Are we only talking about the pen and paper assessments? Or we are looking into the other aspects of assessment also, be it in terms of, let's say, the formative ways of learning. Again, I come back to the spaces. The space can be a sports field. The space can be your art area. It can be, of course, a literary platform. It can be anything. But the question is, are we really assessing in that terms? That is for assessment, we say. Assessment for learning and assessment as learning. So I have always believed that schools work hard. They really work hard. And they try to ensure that every school tries to have their own culture, their own ecosystem, and each one of them, as per their own logistics, the locations, the infrastructure which they have, they're trying to do their level best. So I'm quite hopeful that we are preparing the children for the VUCA world, and we'll keep on preparing them for that.
That's a very good answer, ma'am. Very insightful on that. So, as you mentioned, the school has their own ecosystems as well. That is really true on that. So, do you believe entrepreneurial thinking should become part of school education as well? If you,
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's not just a need of our. If you look into our own education system right from the Vedic times, it has always been about, the three pillars. We call it Shravan. You have to be a good listener. Then it is called Manan. You have to be a good thinker. And ultimately, it is said Nidhi Dhyasan, that is realization and practice. You have to be a good practitioner. So when you talk about entrepreneurial thinking, it's all about the curiosity. Are you actually nudging that? Are you nudging the imagination? And you're giving the platforms to the children to think out of the box and do what they are passionate about. We today are facilitators, that's all. We are just giving them maybe the amenities, the provisions, and we are giving them perhaps that support to direct them into a path. But ultimately, unless and until the children have that, that instinct in them to pursue something which they are, excited about, they have that inclination towards, it will not help. So entire design of the curriculum now, you will find whether it is ICSE, whether it is CBSE, everywhere we are trying to ensure that the child's uniqueness is coming out. And that
Correct.
platform we are able to give to them. So entrepreneurial thinking is a part of it actually. They have to
Mhm.
start thinking from the usual, from the obvious. And the other important thing is the risk-taking factor.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Absolutely. Risk-taking
Yes.
factors of how you're taking it. It's very
So,
important.
if they do not fail, if they do not
Mhm.
come across glitches,
Mhm.
misalignments, uh, let's say difference of opinion, it will not
Mhm.
help. And that is
Correct.
also a part of it.
Yeah. Next thing is that you clearly mentioned everything on the what are three important future ready skills that you will suggest to all our students, right? That they should gather from school days itself, right?
Yes. See, we, of course, at our times, we didn't have these kind of nomenclatures, but today
Mhm.
we call them as 21st century skills. And
Mhm.
the first part, of course, is the learning skills, which we talk about, that is communication, language. The child first
Mhm.
learns language, you know.
Mhm.
So communication skills, then the skills of creation, the skills of critical thinking, problem solving skills, and that's one part. So we majorly define it as learning skills. The
Mhm.
second most important thing I have felt is life skills, that
Yeah.
if and unless you might know every technology, every kind of advancement, but unless and until you have that humane attitude of yours, it doesn't help.
Mhm.
So the interpersonal relationships, those skills, socio emotional learning we talk about, we are looking into self awareness of the child, and obviously that in challenges during conflicts and how are you managing things. So without life skills, whatever maybe ingenuity you have, it cannot be actually exercised, because that is the first requirement. You have to be empathetic, you have to be warm and affectionate towards other humans, which is very necessary. Third thing, which is of course the demand of always a changing time, that is your literacy skills. Whether today
Mhm.
we talk about, let's say, media literacy, we are talking about digital literacy, or we are
Mhm.
saying information literacy. That is the third
Mhm.
thing. So these three skills, as it's already always spoken about, I have always spoken about in all my forums, that
Mhm.
without these three important learning, life skill, and literacy, I think that is the baseline. And others, of course, in your course, in your journey of learning and your career, you will gradually learn.
Thanks, ma'am. Your comments, your statement is very insightful on that. My last ask is from you: is that is the one message to the students or the parents as well about preparing for the future?
See, in short, I would say one should learn to recalibrate very often. Now, what does
Mhm.
that mean? You have a purpose for life. Are you
Mhm.
able to find that purpose? You're able to find that goal? In schools, we use this term called ikigai, right?
Mhm.
The reason for being. So
Mhm.
children have to be first, nurtured in a way that they can understand where is their interest
Mhm.
and their true self. What does it desire for?
Mhm.
Where is that passion lying?
Mhm.
When I say recalibrate very often is every maybe other next day, you are actually the best version of yourself, the better
Mhm.
version of yourself,
Mhm.
right? And you're trying to understand that if this is better for me, how do I change for it? How do I adapt to the situation? How do I bring
Mhm.
in that flexibility? So when I am today, let's say of a certain age, 10 years back, I was not the same. 10 years
Correct.
back, my purpose in life might have been different. Again, when I was a student, my purpose was different. So that
Mhm.
purpose is important. Now, with students, they're very restless. They want to
Mhm.
experience everything. So as adults, whether we are parents or teachers, we are like those gardeners who have to constantly, water that thirst of theirs, that curiosity of theirs. Will they go for exploration? Will they go for, trying out different things, experimenting? That is something we have to keep on, supporting with love,
Absolutely.
with care, with positive thoughts. Just like today, ma'am, a short while ago, Sonia ma'am was talking about, if you control the mic,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Mhm.
You control who
Yeah.
is speaking, who is not. But why can't it be that we, as responsible humans, we know that we are in a platform where there are guest speakers, and we automatically mute ourselves, isn't it? This is something which even us adults have to understand. So that is a sense, a legacy of responsibility, which I'm talking. So
Yeah.
apart from finding the purpose in life, I think the legacy of responsibilities which the children will need to carry. That would be my
Mhm.
message.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks once again for joining in our talk show. And your comments is very insightful on that. Definitely it will help our students to make them really future ready on that. Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
thank you. We next robotics, we are launching a program. It is a national level championship, the Medhara 1.0 Bharat AI Challenge. Today, I'm proud to announce the official launch of Medhara 1.0 Bharat AI Challenge. This is not just another competition, it is a national movement to empower India's next generation innovators, IT creators, entrepreneurs, and change makers through Medhara 1.0.